We found the recipe to the elusive pizza in Japan. Thanks to my friend in Japan, Afro in Japan, he was able to figure out the secret recipe to this pizza, which is an exclusive Demon Slayer pizza out in Japan. It represents all four characters, Nezuko, Tanjiro, Inosuke, and Zenitsu on one pizza. They didn't want to do like separate pizzas and they're all completely different flavors. Now to make our Demon Slayer pizza, we're going to start off with the pizza dough. For this, you need 240 milliliters of warm water at around 80 degrees Fahrenheit, followed by 4 grams worth of instant yeast. You're also going to need 360 grams worth of all-purpose flour. What I'm actually doing for this pizza dough is slowly incorporating some of that flour. Start off with about 1/3 of your flour, mixing it into that yeast and water, so that way it starts to look like pancake batter. While you look at the camera like that, add in 7 grams worth of salt, followed by 4 grams worth of oil, and then the rest of your flour. Begin hydrating this by hand while making as big of a mess as possible. It's fine. It's just flour, dude. Chill. Now that you've become self-aware of your own critique, continue hydrating that flour so that way you don't see any of it left at the bottom of that bowl. Try not to actually mix this too hard in the bowl right now, otherwise you will start to form gluten too early. Once you have this shaggy mess in your bowl, this is when we transfer it to our cutting board. Hit this with just a touch more of flour and start kneading your dough. Now this is actually the first kneading that you will need for your dough. Take your time, have some fun, put some effort into it. Oh, and a pro tip, you can definitely do this in a KitchenAid, even a Roku or some kind of a processor if you want. Plus, if you don't have the equipment, you can easily just do it this way. I've been kneading this for probably about 5 or 6 minutes now, and it's looking really nice. So if you don't have equipment to make pizza dough, just make it by hand. It's cool. And plus, when you make it by hand, you can go muda. That face. Look at how determined he is. It's so cute. And then he goes in and does the slap and fold method, which is a very good method to build gluten in any dough that you're making. After around 4 or 5, maybe even 6 minutes of kneading, your dough ball should be ready to go to rest for its first round. Grab that same bowl you would use earlier, hit it with some olive oil, and place the dough ball in there with a wet cloth over the top and let it rest for about 45 minutes and get your training in. I mean, it worked for Tanjiro, so I had to give it a shot. To be honest, this pizza is a little strange because it has 2 different pizza sauces, neither of them are which are tomato based. And the first sauce we're going to make is the teriyaki sauce for Tanjiro's side of the pizza. For this, you need 100 milliliters worth of soy sauce, 50 milliliters worth of sake, 50 milliliters worth of mirin, and then is this sugar? That is sugar, right? Yeah, 20 grams worth of sugar. And begin heating your sauce over a high heat. Now this is how I make my base teriyaki, but because it's going on pizza, it needs to be a bit more thick. To get that, we're gonna add some cornstarch slurry to this just to make sure it doesn't run all over the place so you don't have soggy, nobody wants soggy pizza. To make my cornstarch slurry, I'm using equal parts cornstarch and water. And for this, I'm using around 10 grams worth of each. Give this a good stir just so everything is fully incorporated. Once you have your slurry made, add it directly to your sauce and begin whisking it. Cornstarch slurry has to have heat to activate, so make sure you bring this to a boil. This is when it's going to start to thicken up. A little more, just, you know? My sauce wasn't thick enough, so I added an additional 10 grams worth of slurry. After adding that in and bringing it back to a boil, it gave me this beautiful consistency to where it was basically a nappe. Give it a taste and burn yourself. Why did I do that? Oh, it's good though. That's really good. Once you have your sauce ready to go, make sure you place this in a separate container to fully cool down so this way it begins to thicken even further. Now the second sauce that we need is actually for Inosuke. This is supposed to be a barbecue sauce, which I don't know if it's supposed to be a traditional American style barbecue, which has the molasses and the hickory flavors and brown sugars and everything, or a traditional Japanese style barbecue sauce, which is typically used for okonomiyaki. So I picked up Japanese barbecue sauce. This is Bachan's barbecue sauce. It's actually very delicious. Link is down below over on Amazon. I highly suggest you pick some up and just put it on everything. But because again, this sauce is a little too loose for pizza, we're just gonna do the same thing. Add some slurry to it. Add 100 milliliters worth of sauce directly to your pot, followed by 10 milliliters directly into your mouth. You look so smug. Oh yeah. And after you bring your sauce back up to that simmer, add in all of your slurry, bringing this back up to a boil, making sure that slurry activates and thickens that barbecue sauce so you have this beautiful, rich thickness. Sauces are done. That was super easy. And while the sauces were being finished, our dough is ready to knead the second time. Make sure you degas it in the bowl first just to make your life slightly easier, and then remove it and place it on the cutting board and knead this for about 5 to 6 minutes. You do want to make sure you work your gluten at this stage of development, and if it is too sticky, add just a touch of flour to help with this process. After kneading it for that 5 to 6 minutes, form it back into your bowl, making sure it is slightly tight, but not too tight. You don't want this to be too tight. And once it's formed, place this back into your bowl and let it rest for an additional 2 hours. Now that our dough and sauces are made, we have to focus on the toppings for each quadrant of the pizza, starting with Zenitsu. Some eggs, cheddar cheese. How are I gonna do him dirty like that? Oh, there is bacon. There's bacon too. So crack your 2 eggs into whatever cup you want, give it a good whisking, and that's Zenitsu. There's like 2 more steps. How should we do this? Oh, we'll do triangles. Isn't that what he has on on his uniform. Not that it's gonna matter because we're just gonna melt this. Go through the painstaking effort of cutting your triangles into triangles and cutting those triangles into triangles until you get little triangles and realize you should have just bought shredded cheddar because that would have been smart. Making the bacon for Inosuke and Zenitsu. So both Inosuke and Zenitsu get bacon for both of their sides of pizza. I'm using a total of around 4 pieces of thick bacon, followed by 2 breakfast sausages that I picked up locally. Feel free to use whatever bacon or breakfast sausage you really want. Just make sure they, they're delicious. Now cook the bacon until slightly crisp and rendered, and then remove it from the pan, placing it onto a paper towel to drain any excess grease. Do the same thing with those sausages. Now while we have all this bacon and sausage grease in here, may as well do the Kalbi beef. You may be asking, Paul, where did you get that Kalbi beef? We got it from this guy. This guy made it the night before. You're gonna need 1 sand pear, 1 apple, 30 grams worth of ginger, 20 grams worth of garlic, 100 milliliters worth of soy sauce, 100 milliliters worth of water, a crack of black pepper, about 10 grams worth of sesame seeds, around 50 milliliters worth of Mugen, 15 milliliters worth of sesame oil, 50 grams worth of honey, a heavy pinch of salt. Oh, and there was like 2 stalks worth of green onions in there, but yeah, we're just gonna puree this until it's completely blended and smooth. Once that puree is done, we're going to marinate our beef short ribs. Now I picked this up locally, but if you don't have any locally, use a nice piece of ribeye. Get all that marinade all over those rib meats. Make sure you seal the bag really well and then massage the bag lightly just to make sure that the ribs are fully covered. Place this onto another container so it doesn't leak in the fridge and let this marinate overnight. Yep, that's about where we got it. Thanks to Past Paul, we can go ahead and sear off this beef. You only need about 2 pieces of your short rib because it's just for 1 slice of pizza, but feel free to cook all of it off if you really want to. Sear each side for around 4 to 5 minutes over a medium heat, pull them off, place them on a plate, and these are ready to go. Highly recommend these. They're like $30 or $40 on Amazon. Link is down below. Now we just have a little more mise en place to get ready. The next thing you're gonna need is 1/2 of a white onion. Make sure you give this a nice thin julienne, just build this way it cooks really nicely on that pizza. After you get that julienne, place it into whatever bowl you have, then move on to 1 whole green bell pepper. I like to make sure I remove as much of the rib as possible so this cooks really nicely in the oven. Give this a nice thin slice similar to how you did it for the onion. Place this into your bowl and set that aside. Next up is some sweet corn. I only need 1 ear of corn because it's only going on Nezuko's pizza. I used sweet corn for this, but feel free to use whatever corn you got as long as it's not frozen. Next up is the sweet potato for Nezuko. I opted in for Okinawan sweet potatoes because I could find them, but feel free to use whatever yam or sweet potato you have. After peeling it, get these super thin on a mandolin. This way they cook up really nicely in the oven. They tend to get a nice crispiness when they're cooked like this, and plus they look really freaking cool. After slicing them all up, place them into a bowl and immediately cover it with water. Covering it with water will help prevent any browning up until we're about ready to cook them. Next is just some green onions. This is actually only going to be for Zenitsu's pizza, but it's going to give it a nice freshness and a nice pop. Make sure you slice those super thin and keep them in a bowl ready to go. Finally, we have a single tomato. The tomato is going to go on Inosuke's pizza, and look at this. This is just for you guys. No one else needs to see this. See that? How sexy. After that NSFW, go ahead and slice your tomatoes to around 1/4 of an inch of thickness. You're not going to need too much of this tomato since it is only for 1 slice of pizza, so just use half of your tomato and then just eat the other half or something. It's going to be fine. Now we do need some mochi for Nezuko's pizza. I'm opting in for kirimochi, which is this brick that you could probably assault someone with. Kirimochi is ready to go in these individual packages, and they are super versatile. That can be used for sauces, and in this case, pizza. Cube them up into these beautiful little bite-sized pieces, place them into a bowl, and we're going to finish this off later. Now the last thing we need is the Topiko mayo, which is equal parts Kewpie mayo and Topiko. Feel free to just use mayonnaise, seriously. Now the last thing we have to do is cut the bacon in half, so that's ready, and then slice 2 pieces of that bacon into nice thin slices. Take that sausage, cut it on a bias, or crumble it up, or really whatever you want with the sausage, and now we have to cook the eggs for Zenitsu. In a non-stick pan over medium heat, halfway melt down 10 grams of butter, and then add in your 2 whisked eggs. Hit this with some crushed black pepper, and then immediately start moving around those eggs to get a nice soft scramble. This is only going to take about 2 minutes to start cooking. Once you see the eggs start to gel, turn it off immediately, sprinkle it with salt, and let the residual heat carry it through. This way they're nice and soft set. Now we also need to remove the bones from that Kalbi beef because no one wants to. Why would you put bones on the pizza? That makes 0 sense. Remove the bones and slice that super thin, and the Kalbi beef is done. And now the dough is ready to go. Sprinkle your cutting board with a touch of flour, drop your dough directly onto it, and start forming your pizza shell. I like to make sure that I do give myself a nice thick crust because Garnt is wrong about everything about crusts. And once you have it to around a 15 to 16 inch slice, hit your pizza peel with a generous helping of semolina flour, slide your pizza shell over onto the pizza peel, and then start assembling your pizza. We're going to start with just a dab of olive oil, and make sure you do brush this on. Now we're going to start off by layering the cheese for Zenitsu and just try to get it as nice as possible. That looks fair. You know, there's a quarter. After understanding how fractions work, place your eggs directly on top of your cheese, followed by that that sliced bacon you had earlier. Gently press down the toppings just to make sure they're evenly distributed. Next up is Tanjiro's pizza, and the base for this is going to be that thickened teriyaki sauce we had made. On top of the teriyaki, layer on a hefty portion of sliced mozzarella cheese, followed by your Kalbi beef, some of your slivered onions, and then your green bell pepper. Next up is Nezuko's pizza. We need to start off by taking a damp towel, covering that kirimochi, and microwaving it for 30 seconds to soften it. While it's microwaving, layer on a nice layer of cheese onto Nezuko's side. My kirimochi kind of melted. It's okay. This is salvageable, actually. Salvageable, actually. I only need a little bit, please. There we go. This is the stickiest mochi I've ever worked with. Make sure your hands are wet when dealing with kirimochi. We'll do some potatoes and then kirimochi. I think that looks way more pretty. After you finally decided how to layer your pizza, however you're doing it, just make sure it looks good, you know? Look at that. That's gorgeous. What else do you want? Look at how Nezuko's came out. I'm okay with that. Now for best Beast Boy Inosuke, layer on a hefty portion of that barbecue sauce we had thickened up, followed by mozzarella cheese, then some of your slices of your fresh tomato right on top of the mozzarella, 2 slices of bacon, followed by 1 whole sausage that we sliced up earlier. Sprinkle some salt around the edge, and this is ready. Look at that bad boy. Look at it. It's amazing. I'm so happy about this. It took literally 2 days. The moment of truth. Are you gonna move? No, stop it, mochi. Now I'm baking mine on a preheated pizza stone at 475 degrees Fahrenheit if I could get this thing off of the pizza peel, which was actually very difficult because it's a very heavy pizza. Or maybe I just didn't put enough semolina flour on it. Get off me, spatula. Yes, that's fine. I'll take it. I'll take it. Just, come on, go back in. That's okay. That's okay. Get in there. 7 to 8 minutes. We did it. Yes! Clean up your mess. Now, after the first 7 to 8 minutes, I like to rotate my pizza and then bake it for an additional 5 to 6 minutes until nice and G-bad. Taking out the pizza, hopefully. Ooh! Look at that crust. That's what I want. Take this out very carefully. Leave the stone in there to cool down. Oh, baby. Look at this. Gonna let this cool down on the rack, hit it with some sauces. It smells amazing. Some of it kind of looks like poop at this point, but it smells amazing. Now the last thing I want to do is finish it with some sauces and some garnishes just to give it that little bit of extra. You know, it's always welcome. We're gonna hit the zenitsu with just a pinch of green onion. Tanjiro's pizza gets a touch of chili flake right on top. Nezuko is going to get the topiko mayo, which I did put in this little bag just so it looks a little nicer. Inosuke's is gonna get a bit more of this barbecue just right on top. I'm also gonna hit Tanjiro's with a bit more of that teriyaki. There it is, the pizza from Demon Slayer. We still have to cut it and eat it, but I just wanted to show this to you as a whole before I eat it. Honestly, this looks good. I would pay $25 to $30 for something like this because of how much meat is on here, which I think is what Pizza Law is charging you. But realistically, this pizza should cost you just about $10 in ingredients, maybe even less. I'm gonna start with zenitsu's because it's breakfast, but I also eat eggs like at 10 o'clock at night, so we're gonna start with that one. Look at that crust though. That is really nice and airy. Cheers, zenitsu. That's really good. I'm surprised that the eggs don't taste that overcooked. It's more of an eggy flavor with the bacon and a bit of that sharp cheddar. I like that a lot. Next we're gonna go with Tanjiro. We're just gonna go around. We're just gonna go around in a circle. Oh, hello. A little bit of sweetness, a little spicy. It has that beautiful meaty flavor from the kalbi. Some of the vegetables add a bit of depth to it. This one is good. I would order a pizza with just this. Now we're gonna go to Nezuko, which is kind of the odd one in. You know, I mean, it looks really interesting. But we all know what's in it. I feel like it's confused as to whether or not it wants to taste like some kind of sushi or pizza. Don't know if I want that, mostly because of topiko mayo. It's not bad, it's just not very good. Best boy, right here. This one sounds and looks really good. We're gonna try to get a bite with everything on it. There is Inosuke's pizza right there. Cheers. That one is the best. Followed by Tanjiro, then Zenitsu, and then they. Look at how they massacred my girl. If you want to check out this recipe, link is down below over at chefpk.com where you can pick up some merch. Join us over on Patreon to support the channel. My name is Chef PK. Get subscribed. Remember, keep playing with your food. And I'm out. Okay, the egg one slaps. That's good. Oh, the extra green onion. Yep.